Hi everyone and welcome to Inderes TV. Today we're going to talk about Efecte with Analyst Antti Luiro. Hi.
Hi Lisa.
Hi, welcome to the line. We are living a reporting season at the moment, and Efecte is not reporting any day soon, but we have an update in the research, and we're going to talk about that a bit more. You updated the recommendation also from accumulate to buy last week. Could you go into that a bit? Why?
Yeah, so I think the overall rationale for updating the analysis was that the market situation has evolved quite significantly. So our last update was still in the summer, and after that the economic outlook has changed quite a bit to a more negative scenario. So that's been one driver. So we saw a need for estimate changes, but at the same time the stock price had fallen. So there was a need to update our analysis. So even though no figures were there, the market and the overall situation had evolved. So that's why we updated the analysis now.
Yeah, and this is a specific Saas-company. Could you start by briefly describe what the company does and then more of a Saas perspective on the whole thing?
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, Efecte is a software product company, and they operate that with a software as a service model. So Efecte's customers, they get Efecte's product, which they pay for basically on a recurring basis. So month by month, you have a payment for your ability to use Efecte's software. And what the software does is that it's provided to companies for service management. So what service management is that, for example, if you have an IT organization that is helping the employees of a company to manage their laptop, to have access to different services within the company, for example, different softwares that they use. Oftentimes, the employees have some trouble with using their IT devices like the laptop, and they need to ask for help from someone. Now, Efecte's platform is designed to take in these requests and help the IT service people manage those requests. So, for example, I might open Efecte's portal and ask for access to a software I need to use in my work. Then Efecte's software routes that request to a person that's available in the organization, and then through that I get help for the request I have. And Efecte is able to do this for IT, but also for human resources. So if you have questions about your employment, things like that. So it's a more broader platform. But the idea is to automate some of that service work and make it more fluid in organizations.
So let me get this straight. They're having this one and own platform and not taking any other company services on that platform, just selling and using their own. Or what is this partner network?
So Efecte has, I guess, two kinds of partners in a big picture. One part is that some of their services can be, they can bring more functionality from partners. So there might be another software provider that could, for example, help automate a certain part of service management. So they might have some technology components coming from partners. But what I think is quite interesting in Efecte's story is the sales and integration partners that Efecte has. So Efecte is growing in Europe internationally, and they have quite a few partners in different European countries. And the role of these partners is to sell Efecte software. So, for example, somebody in Poland, one of their partners might see that there's a customer they have that could benefit from Efecte software. So then this partner can sell Efecte software to this customer. They can do the integration, so take Efecte software and put that into use at their customer's site. So these partners can be doing Efecte sales and distribution, and also the onboarding and integration process of the software for Efecte. Of course, Efecte also does their direct sales, where their own employees contact the end customer, and Efecte's people do the onboarding and integrations. But partners are able to expand Efecte's reach geographically, but also capacity. So you're able to benefit from the partners talent and resources in taking in new customers.
Okay, so that's quite interesting. Both, when you think about the partners, that they help both in a way with sales, but also with integration and the technical part, if I understood you correctly.
Yeah, so that's the role of the distribution partners.
And the internationalization part, how big is it? And the reach was almost 20 countries, but is it still in kind of small steps?
So historically and still Efecte is quite focused on Finland in terms of how much their revenue is coming from there. But already for quite some time they've been building their international sales and customer base, and their international revenue has been growing faster than Finnish revenue for quite some time. But yes, still quite a large share of the business is from Finland, but I'd say where the growth will come from in a longer term, it's going to take much more international customers in the future to keep up the growth. And I think Efecte has been building the engine to do that growth for some time. So they have the digital marketing and sales to find the leads and make their brand known in countries outside Finland. They also have their own field sales in certain countries in Europe where their representatives can do the sales. And then, as we discussed, the distribution partners they have in quite a nice number of countries in Europe, which also helps them reach customers in these countries. So still lots of work to do, but I think what they've been doing there so far and the success they've had so far, I think it looks quite good that they're able to continue growth in the international markets.
Let's talk about growth a bit more. They have really ambitious growth goals. Could you open up those a bit more? And the following question on that is, do you think it's realistic in this environment to achieve going forward?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, because if Efecte gave their latest growth targets earlier this year, and of course the economic outlook back then was still much better than it was right now. Still there was an uncertainty, but yes, it was given in a better environment. Now Efecte has been growing really steadily for I guess at least the past 5 years when they've been a listed company. They've been doing over 20% software as a service revenue growth year-on-year basis all that time. So they've been really good at kind of keeping up their growth, keeping on improving, because every year you have to get a higher number of euro-based growth since you're growing to keep the same percentage growth. So they have a good track record. Now what's challenging is the current environment where the economy is not looking that good. And for many of Efecte's customers, we believe there will be a lot of uncertainty in their business. So what Efecte software does overall, it's supposed to help Efecte's customers be more efficient and effective. So from that point of view, you should be getting cost savings if you take Efecte software into use. So even if the economic outlook is good, you might think that, well, these customers would be more enthusiastic to take the software into use because they can save during tough times. But what I feel in this situation is that if you're a customer and you have a lot of uncertainty on your plate, you might not be ready to take a new software where you have to manage an integration process where the software is plugged into your existing systems. You have to teach your users to use it. So that is focus away from something else. And how I look at it is that currently in the coming uncertainty, I believe that it will be more challenging for Efecte to acquire new customers who have to go through this process. But at the same time, a lot of Efecte's growth, and the majority of it, has been coming from customers expanding their use. And I think that part is more defensive part of the growth. So if you have a customer that is using one part of Efecte's solution, for example, they have the IT service management module in use, and then they're offered, well, do you want to expand to other enterprise services like HR? You already have the software mostly in place. Your users know how to use it. They know where to send requests. So it's a smaller step to take to expand the use of Efecte rather than taking Efecte software as as a new software for your organization. And I believe that Efecte will be able to continue growing, especially through customer expansions, even at this time of uncertainty. But looking at the growth targets and where that takes Efecte, now our updated estimates are well below Efecte's target. So Efecte is targeting 35 million revenue by 25, and we're at around 32, including some M&A, which is not in Efecte's target. So we are estimating a more negative scenario for Efecte due to the challenging economic outlook, even though Efecte has been really good at growing before, but just the market environment, I think it is making it bringing up the difficulty in new customer acquisition, and we feel that is something that has at least a clear risk of slowing down Efecte's growth.
Just to be clear here, from an investor's point of view, is this reported separately, the new customer growth and the growth growing within already existing customers?
Yeah, so Efecte is reporting their net revenue retention, which basically means how much are the customers that Efecte had a year ago spending today, and what is their kind of rolling recurring revenue base. So you get a pretty good view of what is sort of the part of growth, at least that we see as a more defensive element.
And that's something to look out for as an investor. In terms of valuation at the moment, you already said that you're taking a much more modest view than the company itself, but what would you say that investors should follow specifically in this environment?
Yeah, so I think what comes to SaaS companies overall is that typically we want to look at the revenue-based multiples, mainly because a SaaS company makes their investments in their profit and loss statement. So even though their existing customers are generating really good margins, and from that you could calculate a price per earnings multiple, for example, when you invest in new customer acquisition, it means you have new people in the organization. So kind of the recurring margin that you make from existing business, you lose it as you go to net income in your profit and loss statement. So that's why we look at enterprise value to sales multiple typically for these companies. Now, overall, the market multiples for SaaS companies have gone down significantly in the last year and a half. And I think it's two drivers. It's been the rising interest rates, but then also the declining growth outlook, because these companies are not immune to the market environment, even though there's a kind of long-term trends for digitalization going forward that drives the demand of these companies forward. Now, if we look at Efecte, so right now we have a scenario in the estimates, which I would like to believe is quite conservative in terms of what we expect from the company. Now, the peers are trading at 50% higher multiples, but the organic growth that we expect from Efecte versus what the consensus is expecting from the peers, we see that Efecte's growth outlook is still higher than those of the peers. And overall, if we look at this just from a peer point of view, from at least how I look at it, is that I think Efecte is currently attractively valued compared to the peers. And also, if we take in terms of absolute terms, so just forget the peer valuations overall, is the 2x enterprise value to sales multiple attractive for Efecte, given their growth outlook and the previous historical signs of the growth they've been able to keep up. I think the company is attractively valuated. And also in terms of discounted cash flows, we're able to justify a clearly higher valuation for the company if we look more long term. So I think from multiple points of view, now given the conservative estimates, their company is attractively valued. But again, it's of course hard to say what the market is going to do in the short term. But if you look at the company in the longer term, we believe the valuation is very attractive.
Yeah, it was really good explained from several points of view. how to look at the company right now. Thank you for all these comments, Antti Luiro.
Thanks, Isa.